Hello everyone, welcome back to another Flesh and Blood video. In this video, we'll be taking a look at Oldhim inside of the Commoner format. Last video I said we were going to take a look at a Commoner fatigue deck, and who's better at fatiguing than Oldhim. Let's get started. For those who don't know what Oldhim does, since he has been gone for a while in the classic constructed and blitz formats, he is a 4 intellect, 20 health, guardian young elemental hero. He has Essence of Earth and Ice, letting him play Earth and Ice cards, and once per turn you have a defense reaction. You can pay 3 resources. If an Earth card is pitched this way, prevent the next 2 damage that will be dealt to Oldhim this turn. And if an Ice card is pitched this way, the attacking hero puts a card from their hand on the top of their deck. This deck isn't using very many of the Ice cards. In fact, there aren't any in the deck. This is more of an Earth-based deck. So you can use this Earth prevention to save us a little extra cards, so our late game we can make sure we have more cards in our deck for blocking and such. Looking at the equipment, we'll talk about all the new equipment last. We'll talk about the basics first. We're on Titan's Fist. This is here because we can't play Winner's Whale. It's just a 3 for 4 pretty much, since most of the cards in the deck cost 3. Steelbraid Buckler is the offhand we'll be playing, just because it is 2 block with temper. It's an extra 3 health. And Helm of Eisen's Peak is here, simply because I wanted a helmet that could block. The actual effect on this isn't terrible, you can actually use it. And also, I don't want to give my opponent card draw with the Civic helmet, so we're not playing it. Speaking of Civic, we have the other 3 Civic pieces. Civic Duty is a 2 block temper, and all of them are 2 block temper, and they all do something when they defend. Civic Duty creates a Vigor token under another hero's control. Civic Guide makes a Might token, and Civic Steps makes a Quicken token. Obviously, you have to give these to your opponent in Commoner, since it's a 1v1 format. Here are the tokens down here. Vigor gives them a resource at the start of their turn. Might gives their first attack +1, and Quicken pretty much gives their first attack go again. But this one won't break at the start of the turn, so if they don't use it, they still keep it. These, other than Civic Steps, which actually see competitive play, the other 2 aren't as strong, but they still give us an extra 3 health. I guess technically Civic Guide only gives us 2 because of the Might token, but it's good at blocking breakpoints. And Civic Duty does give our opponent resources, but a lot of the time decks don't use all of them, or if they're planning on using resources, they already generate enough. This only matters versus some matchups that are only going to be spending like 1 resource a turn, because those matchups are just giving them the resource enough for their turn. But matchups that like pitch a blue for their turn, the 1 resource doesn't matter all too much. Moving on to the main deck, we have all 6 Autumn's Touches. This is just because they're good attacks, as well as we need Earths for some of our Earth fusions. Looking at our Earth fusions, we do play 2 different ones. Mulch is a 4 for 8 at red. We are also on the blue. If they're fused, when they hit, the opponent puts a card from their arsenal on the bottom of their deck. So this can just be some arsenal denial, which is really nice. And Strength of Sequoia, I believe is how you pronounce it. We are also on the red and blue. This is an aura. It only costs 2, so pitching the blue won't make your hammer stronger, but we're going to be trying to play these. They are a 2-cost aura. They have Go Again and Earth Fusion. If they're fused, we make a Seismic Surge, and at the beginning of our action phase, we destroy it and gain +3 power for the red or +1 for the blue. The main reason these are here is because they do make Seismic Surges, which is really nice for a lot of our attacks because a lot of our attacks cost 4. Buckling Blow, Chokeslam, Mulch, and Thump, and Debilitate here, are all Guardian attacks that cost 4, so with the Surge, now they cost 3. We can play them with 1 blue, and the Strength of Sequoia pumps them up. It's a little more important for a card like Thump, but pumping up red Buckling Blow, red Chokeslam, and even red Mulch is really good. We already talked about those 4-cost attacks, but I'll talk about them a little more. Buckling Blow is just here for a little bit of equipment denial. Make the opponent spend the cards or take their armor down a little bit. Chokeslam is here so their attacks can't gain power. This can kinda prevent the Might token from the Civic Guide, so it is nice to have. I already talked about Mulch. Debilitate is just makes their attacks weaker if we get the Crush effect. This is the weakest, so we're only on the blues since the blues are important. And then Thump is here just because it's really good if we pump it, but it's the worst if we don't, and the only way we can pump it is with the Strength of Sequoias. So we're only on the 2 blue Thump because hitting just with the blue is enough. A D-React, just a D-React, no other armor will still have this hit if it's at least 5, which it will be off the blue. So we can just guarantee that we get in a discard if we play our cards right. And that's why only the blue's in the deck, because the red, not as needed. I'd rather play Chokeslam, Buckling Blow, Mulch, stuff like that. The rest of the attacks, we have a few more earth options. Break Ground and Burgeoning Blue are just here because they're blue earth cards. They only block for 2, which is alright, but they do come in for some nice damage. Break Ground, slightly better because it is a 3-cost, so it will pump up our hammer. Burgeoning is really just here because I would rather have an attack than something like the Earthlore Surge for the pump. And this does come in for 5 if we do ever play it from Arsenal, which isn't terrible. The last 2 attacks in the deck are some big ones. Macho Grande is a pretty obvious one. This can come in for 11 off a red strength for only 6 resource. Really good. And we also have Glacial Footsteps, which there are no ice cards in the deck to actually fuse it, but a 6 for 8 is just pretty strong, so why not include it? The rest of the deck is 2 copies of Fate Foreseen and 2 copies of Sink Below, just for those pretty easy D-Reacts, and 2 blue Unmovable for those slightly taller decks. Moving on to our sideboard. 2 Oasis Respite for our Wizard matchups. I guess some Arcane matchups as well. Rosetta Thorn is playable in this format, so this can come in versus Runeblade as well. Probably going down one of the D-Reacts. And yes, into Wizard you will have to keep one of them in, but that's alright. You only will have 2 of them. Looking at our sideboard equipment, we have Arcane Lantern, Norryn Gloves, Norryn Robe, and Spellfray Leggings. Just like in the last video where I said try to have 1 Spell Void and 2 AB, it's similar there. Of course you'll have the Lantern, so that's the 1 AB that's excluded. And also since there's no Spellfray Glove, or Spellfray, sorry, there's no Spellfray Offhand. And for me, I have a Rainbow Foil Norryn Gloves, so I have those in here. I have not a robe, but I don't think I own a Spellfray cloak. So I have the Northern robe in here, and then I just have Spellfray leggings because I just want the one spell void for the times that you'd want the one spell void, which there are times into those arcane matchups. This is just for arcane protection. You don't need these in most matchups. When you do want 1 AB though, I would either say the robe or the gloves. Lantern's only for when you need all of it, but you'll just be subbing out one of these two downside temper pieces for the AB. That's up to you. And then the reason I'm on the Spellfray leggings is because I'd rather have the shoes in most situations. So I didn't want the AB there, but that's perfectly up to you. You can easily sub those out. Just if you do run Norrune legs, I would suggest not having that be your 1AB for when you need 1AB. With all that said, that's going to be the end of the video. This is kind of a fast one, since there really isn't much to talk about fatigue. It's just like good attacks, good blocks. Oldhim, because he has to play earth cards, does have like some a little weaker blocks. Obviously, these only block 2, but you get that elemental effect, which is really nice with his hero ability and the fusions, so it is definitely worth it. And I mean, Oldhim, even though he is pretty complicated with his own hero ability, his deck building is actually really simple. So he's an easy to play hero like this if you know how to play fatigue. So that's why we went with this. You could play Bravo if you wanted. I was thinking about it, but I do like the Strength of Sequoias with all the 4-cost Guardian attacks. I think those are pretty nice. But that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Next week, I don't know what we'll do. I don't have another commoner deck to show you. And we don't really have all of the expansion slot cards yet. So maybe we'll do another UPF deck. Maybe I'll look at another format. That could be pretty fun. Or maybe I'll cook up a CC deck to show you all. But that's for next week. I hope you all had a good day, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.